Hey everyone, and welcome back for another deep dive.
Yeah.
Today we are going to be tackling a really buzzy topic, especially for women,
Yeah.
intermittent fasting.
It's everywhere, right?
It is everywhere. Everyone's
Huh.
talking about it.
All
We've
right.
got a fantastic guide to help us break it all down.
Yeah.
We are going to be looking at The Essential Guide to Intermittent Fasting for Women
Great
by Megan Ramos.
Yeah.
And we are really excited to kind of dig into the insights and really look at how women can approach fasting a little bit differently than
Right.
what we see maybe out there on the internet.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's a really important point, because most of the research
Yeah.
that's been done on fasting
Yeah.
has really focused on men.
Yeah, that's so interesting.
And as women, our bodies operate on a totally different hormonal rhythm.
Absolutely.
So we can't just follow the same guidelines and expect the same results.
Totally. And I've even seen that anecdotally, like with friends who have tried different fasting plans.
Yeah.
Some have had great experiences and others like really messed with their cycles or they
Yeah.
felt totally drained. And
Yeah. No, that makes sense.
yeah. So let's break it down.
Yeah.
What is it about women's bodies that makes us so unique
Mm-hmm.
when it comes to fasting?
Well, I think the biggest thing is our hormones, right? We have these incredible hormonal shifts throughout our cycles.
Right.
Pregnancy, menopause. Our bodies are literally designed for change.
Yeah.
And, I think when we try to ignore these natural rhythms, it can really backfire.
Yeah.
And I think that's why so many women struggle with things like PMS or fertility issues or weight gain around menopause.
That's such a good point. So it's almost like if we are just blindly following some generic fasting plan
Yeah.
that's out there, it could actually make those hormonal imbalances worse.
Exactly. And that's really where Ramos's approach comes in because she's all about syncing your fasting schedule
Oh.
with your cycle to work with your body's natural ebb and flow.
I love that.
So for example, like during your follicular phase, right after your period, your estrogen levels are rising. And this actually makes it easier to tap into your fat stores for energy.
Okay.
So longer fasts might actually feel less intense during this time.
So it's not even just when you're fasting,
Yeah.
but it's like how long you're fasting, depending on where you are in your cycle.
It's so personalized.
Yeah, that's so cool.
Yeah, and then as you move into your luteal phase,
Okay.
which is the week or so before your period, your progesterone levels rise.
Right.
And that makes you more sensitive to blood sugar swings, so shorter or less frequent fasts might be a better fit during this time
Makes sense.
because you don't want to trigger those cravings.
Yeah, you don't want to trigger anything.
Or energy dips.
Yeah, totally.
It's about working with your body.
So it's almost like having this personalized fasting plan based on your own hormonal blueprint,
Yeah.
which is kind of amazing when you think about it.
Yeah.
But how does all of this actually work on a physiological level?
Yeah.
Like what's happening inside the body when we fast?
Well, one of the key mechanisms is related to insulin sensitivity.
Oh,
So when you fast, your insulin levels drop. And this helps your body become more efficient at using glucose for energy.
okay. Break that down for me. I'm not a scientist. What does that actually mean?
Okay, so think of insulin as like the key
Okay.
that unlocks your cells to let glucose in.
Okay.
When you're constantly eating,
Yeah.
your insulin levels are high,
Mm-hmm.
and this can lead to something called insulin resistance. It's like your cells become numb to the key, and glucose can't get in as easily.
Okay.
So your body is forced to store this excess glucose as fat, and that can contribute to weight gain and other metabolic issues.
Okay. So fasting is giving our cells a break from all that insulin and making them more sensitive again.
Exactly. It's like hitting the reset button.
I like that. Okay. And this is especially important for women, right? Because we have all those hormonal fluctuations.
Exactly. Hormonal fluctuations can actually make us more prone to insulin resistance.
Oh.
And, conditions like PCOS, which affects millions of women, is directly linked to this insulin dysregulation.
Wow. I never really put that connection together.
Yeah, it's a big one.
So by improving insulin sensitivity, intermittent fasting could actually help with some of those hormone-related issues.
Exactly. It can be really powerful.
Wow. That's amazing.
Hmm.
So it's not just about weight loss. It's about like
No.
overall hormonal health.
No, it's about so much more.
I love that. Okay. So we are talking about all these amazing benefits.
Yeah.
But let's be real, the idea of skipping meals can be really daunting for a lot of people.
Right.
Especially, we're constantly told to like eat every few hours to keep our metabolisms going.
Right. You got to stoke the fire.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
So what would you say to someone who's like, I don't know if I can do this?
Yeah, I get it. I totally understand the hesitation, but it's important to remember that intermittent fasting is not about deprivation.
Right.
It's about being strategic with your eating windows and, it doesn't have to be drastic.
Right.
You can start with a simple, 12-hour overnight fast and gradually increase the duration as you feel comfortable.
Okay, so baby steps are key.
Baby steps, exactly.
But I am curious about those eating windows. Like when we are eating,
Yeah.
are there certain foods that work best or that we should be focusing on?
Yeah, absolutely. What you eat when you do eat plays a huge role in how your body responds to fasting.
Okay.
You want to focus on nutrient-dense foods that are going to nourish your body and keep those hormones happy.
Give us the goods. What are we talking about?
All right, so think high-quality protein,
Okay.
healthy fats, plenty of fiber
Okay.
from fruits and vegetables and whole grains.
Love it.
And don't forget about hydration.
Yeah.
Staying well hydrated is crucial throughout the day,
So important.
especially during your fasting windows.
Okay, so it's not about starving ourselves.
Oh,
It's about making those smart choices to fuel our bodies.
exactly.
Awesome. Okay, so let's circle back to this whole syncing with our cycle thing.
Yeah.
How do we actually figure that out?
Yeah.
Which fasting schedule is right for me? Does Ramos give us any guidance on that?
She does. Yeah. In fact, her book is packed with personalized plans tailored to different life stages and goals.
Okay.
But before we dive into those, I think it would be helpful to take a closer look at the science behind how fasting actually affects
Yes.
those key female hormones.
Let's get into the nitty-gritty.
Okay.
I'm ready.
All right, let's do it. All right, so let's dive into those hormones.
Yes.
Because we know they play a huge role in how women respond to fasting.
Absolutely.
But what's really happening at a cellular level? Let's start with estrogen,
Okay.
the queen bee of female hormones.
Ooh, estrogen.
Right,
Tell me all the juicy details.
right.
I know it's involved in everything from our cycles to our mood to how our skin looks.
Oh, yeah, it's a big one.
So what happens when we fast?
Well, this is where things can get a little tricky.
Okay.
You see, estrogen is powerful, and too much or too little can really throw things out of whack. And some studies have suggested that prolonged or intense fasting could potentially lower estrogen levels.
Really? That doesn't sound good.
Yeah, so that's something to be aware of.
What kind of problems could that cause?
Well, you could experience things like irregular cycles,
Okay.
difficulty getting pregnant,
Wow.
even bone loss in the long run. It's all connected.
So it's definitely something to pay attention to.
Yeah, but here's the good news.
Okay.
Ramos emphasizes that this is usually only a concern with excessive fasting
Okay.
when done correctly.
Mm-hmm.
And especially when you sync your fasting with your cycle,
Okay.
it can actually help balance your estrogen levels.
So it's all about finding that sweet spot
Exactly.
where you're getting the benefits without messing with
Right.
your hormones.
It's all about balance.
That makes
Oh,
sense? Okay, what about progesterone?
Yeah.
What role does it play?
So progesterone is another key player,
Okay.
especially during your luteal phase.
Okay.
It's responsible for all those lovely PMS symptoms like
Oh, I know those all too well.
mood swings, bloating, cravings.
Yep.
The whole shebang.
So how does fasting affect progesterone?
Well, when you fast, your body produces a surge in a hormone called human growth hormone, or HGH.
Okay.
And guess what?
Right.
HGH can actually help counter the effects of progesterone,
Okay.
potentially easing those pesky PMS symptoms.
Whoa, so fasting could be like a natural way to tame those hormonal roller coasters.
Exactly. It can be really helpful for that.
Sign me up.
Right.
Okay, but I'm also curious about the stress connection.
Yeah.
We talked about earlier. How does fasting affect cortisol?
Great question. So when you fast,
Mm-hmm.
your body initially releases cortisol as a way to kind of provide energy.
Yeah.
This is totally normal. Nothing to worry about.
Okay.
But if you're constantly stressed
Mhm.
or you're pushing your fasts too far,
Right.
it can lead to chronically elevated cortisol levels.
And what happens when those levels get too high?
That's when we start to see those negative effects, like weight gain, especially around the belly,
Okay.
trouble sleeping,
Oh,
anxiety, low energy.
not good.
Yeah, it can really impact our overall well-being.
So it's all about finding that balance again.
Exactly. And that's where Ramos's approach is so brilliant.
Okay.
By syncing your fasting with your cycle,
Mhm.
you're actually working with your body's natural stress response.
So I'm actually avoiding those cortisol spikes
Yeah.
by aligning my fasting schedule
Exactly.
with my hormonal fluctuations.
It's all about finding a rhythm
Okay.
that feels sustainable and supports your overall well-being.
Love it. And it goes beyond just the timing, right?
Absolutely.
It's also what we're eating.
Yes, what you eat during your eating windows also plays a role.
Okay, let's talk about food.
Yes.
I know we touched on nutrient-dense foods earlier,
Mhm.
but are there any specific foods that are especially helpful for women who are fasting?
Yes. One of my favorite recommendations from Ramos is to include plenty of healthy fats.
Oh, fats. I love fats.
Yes, fats are
Sweet.
so important. Things like avocados, nuts and seeds, fatty fish,
Oh,
all those good things.
why are fats so important?
Well, first of all, they help keep you feeling full and satisfied, which
Yeah.
is key when you're fasting.
Right, because you don't want to be hangry.
Exactly. No one wants to be hangry.
And it does help, because I feel like when I'm eating those healthy fats,
Yes.
I stay fuller for longer.
Exactly. And they also provide building blocks for those crucial hormones we've been talking about.
Oh, wow.
So they're really important for hormonal balance.
Interesting.
And they also support brain health, which is especially important as we age.
So important.
So it's not about fearing fat.
Right.
It's about embracing it
Yeah.
as a vital part of a healthy fasting lifestyle.
Love it. Okay. But I also know that exercise is a big part of the equation
Yeah.
for a lot of women. So any tips on how to combine fasting with workouts?
That's a great question. And Ramos addresses this directly in her book.
Awesome.
She recommends sticking to low-intensity exercise during your fasting windows.
Like what kind of things are we talking about?
So things like walking,
Okay.
gentle yoga,
Okay.
Pilates, swimming,
Mm-hmm.
just something that's not going to put too much stress on your body.
Why is that?
Well, when you're fasting, your body's already tapping into its energy reserves.
Right.
So high-intensity workouts can put extra stress on your system,
Okay.
which can lead to fatigue, muscle breakdown, even hormonal imbalances.
So we're really listening to our bodies
Exactly.
and not pushing it too hard when it's already working hard.
Yes.
But what about those days when you do want to crank up the intensity?
Yes. Save those high-intensity workouts for your eating windows.
Okay.
That way you have plenty of fuel to power through
Okay.
and support muscle recovery.
Makes sense. So low intensity during fasts,
Yes.
high intensity after you break your fast.
Exactly.
Got it. Okay. But let's be honest, life happens.
It does.
And sometimes those perfectly planned
Yeah.
fasting windows go out the window.
Yes, they do.
So any advice for navigating those unexpected situations?
Flexibility is key.
Oh,
One of my favorite quotes from Ramos's book is, "The key to success in fasting is flexibility and adaptation."
that's so good.
Don't beat yourself up
Right.
if you have to break a fast early or adjust your schedule.
That's such a relief to hear.
Yeah, it's not about being perfect.
Yeah, it takes the pressure off.
It's about finding what works for you.
And allows for real life.
Exactly.
But I think what's really resonating with me
Yeah.
is this idea of personalized fasting.
Yes.
It's not about following some generic plan.
Yeah.
It's about finding what works best for your unique body and lifestyle.
Exactly. And Ramos provides a fantastic framework for doing just that.
She does.
She's included specific plans for women in different life stages,
Okay.
like those trying to conceive,
Mhm.
going through perimenopause, or navigating postmenopause.
Oh, wow.
And she also addresses common health concerns like PCOS, thyroid issues, autoimmune disorders.
So she's really covering all the bases.
She really does.
Sounds like her book is like a must-read for any woman who's curious about intermittent fasting.
I think so.
Okay, so let's get into these personalized plans.
Yes.
Can you give us a sneak peek
Let's do it.
at what they look like?
Yeah, so Ramos, she breaks them down into different categories based on, your goals and where you are in life.
Okay.
So for example, if you are in your reproductive years and trying to conceive,
Okay.
she recommends a more gentle approach to fasting.
Okay.
So focusing on shorter fasts and avoiding fasting during your luteal phase.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, that helps to protect your hormonal balance
Right.
and optimize fertility.
So you wouldn't want to be doing anything that could potentially interfere with that delicate
Yeah.
hormonal dance.
It's all about timing.
Yeah. Okay, so what about women who are going through perimenopause or menopause?
Right.
What kind of adjustments does she recommend?
Yeah, so for women in this stage of life, longer fasts can actually be quite beneficial.
Okay.
Remember how we talked about estrogen declining during menopause? Well, fasting can help to boost human growth hormone,
Okay.
which can have some anti-aging effects
Nice.
and help with things like bone density and muscle mass.
So it's almost like flipping the script.
Right.
What was maybe risky for younger women could actually be really helpful
Exactly.
later in life.
It's fascinating.
I know, it's so interesting. Okay,
Yes.
but I'm also thinking about women who are dealing with specific health issues.
Yeah.
You mentioned PCOS earlier.
Mm.
How does Ramos address that in her book?
Yeah, so she actually dedicates an entire chapter to PCOS
Okay.
and how intermittent fasting can be such a powerful tool for managing the symptoms.
Okay.
And remember, PCOS is often linked to insulin resistance.
Right.
And we know that fasting can help to improve insulin sensitivity.
Yeah.
So it can be a game changer for women who are struggling with things like weight gain, irregular cycles, acne,
Right.
which are all common PCOS symptoms.
So it's like we're actually addressing the root cause of these issues
Exactly.
rather than just masking the symptoms.
It's about getting to the root of the problem.
Yeah. I love that. Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground today.
We have.
It's been incredible.
So much good information.
What would you say are the top 3 takeaways for listeners who are just starting to explore intermittent fasting?
Okay, top 3 takeaways. I would say first and foremost, listen to your body.
Yes.
Pay attention to how you're feeling, your energy levels, your mood, your sleep. Don't be afraid to adjust your fasting schedule based on what your body is telling you.
Such an important reminder.
Yeah, it's not about forcing yourself into a rigid plan.
Right.
It's about finding what feels good for you.
Yeah. What's the second takeaway?
Don't underestimate the power of nutrition.
Ooh, tell me more.
So what you eat during your eating windows is just as important as when you eat.
All right.
Focus on nourishing your body with whole, unprocessed foods, plenty of healthy fats, adequate protein.
Okay, so it's not just when you're eating, but what you're eating.
Exactly.
That makes sense. What's the third takeaway?
Embrace flexibility. Life happens, and sometimes you need to adjust your fasting schedule.
Yeah.
Don't let perfection be the enemy of good.
So good.
Remember, consistency is key,
Yes.
and even small changes can make a big difference over time.
Such a good reminder, and it takes the pressure off.
Yeah,
Makes it feel so much more approachable.
exactly.
Amazing. Well, this has been an incredible deep dive
It has
into the world of intermittent fasting for women.
so much fun.
We've covered so much ground,
Yeah.
from the science behind how fasting affects our hormones to the practical tips for creating a personalized plan
Yeah.
that works for you.
Absolutely.
Huge shout out to Megan Ramos
Yes.
for her insightful book, The Essential Guide to Intermittent Fasting for Women.
What a great resource.
I know, and it's truly, I think, a must-read for any woman who's curious about this approach
Agreed.
to health and well-being. But before we sign off,
Yeah.
I want to leave you with one final thought.
Yeah.
You know, now that you've heard about these incredible benefits
Yeah.
and the importance of tailoring your approach, we really encourage you to explore this further.
Yes.
Do your own research. Listen to your body
Yeah.
and see how intermittent fasting can fit into your life.
Absolutely.
And remember, this is a journey, not a destination.
So true.
So be kind to yourself, be patient,
Yes.
and be open to discovering what works best for you.
Love it.
Until next time, happy fasting.
Thanks for tuning into Chapter 2, where we break down the best books to fuel your growth and learning. If this book caught your interest, check out the links in the description to get the audiobook at no cost. Don't miss out and support our channel while you dive deeper into these life-changing reads. See you in the next episode.